FBI's most puzzling kidnapping, the vanished college student and the DNA that spoke years later. The vanishing in broad daylight. The morning sun hung softly over Oregon State University, the air still cool from spring. 19-year-old Brooke Whitman, a speech pathology student home for the summer, had taken a part-time job helping her sister manage a quiet apartment complex near campus. By all accounts, it was a routine morning, the kind you never expect to end in tragedy. At 10 a.m., neighbors saw Brooke scrubbing a weather-worn lamppost, earbuds in, a bright blue bucket beside her. She texted her sister, "Lunch at 12?" Then she vanished. When her sister Stephanie came to meet her, the bucket was overturned. Brooke's phone, keys, and wallet were inside the office. Her car sat untouched in the lot. Only a single flip-flop and a streak of dirt led toward the back fence. Stephanie's voice trembled as she called 911. "My sister's gone. She was just outside cleaning. Her things are still here, please, hurry." Within minutes, the small complex was surrounded by cruisers and yellow tape. Detective Sean Hale, a 14-year veteran, examined the scene: a pair of ripped flip-flops, a half-empty water bottle, faint drag marks on the asphalt that stopped abruptly near tire tracks. "This wasn't someone walking away," he muttered. "Someone took her." As the day faded into evening, volunteers combed through the surrounding woods. Helicopters hovered above the university town of Corvallis, but there was no trace of Brooke, no witnesses, no sound, no struggle that anyone had seen. The FBI arrived before midnight. Agent Joseph Burr, a seasoned investigator in interstate kidnappings, knew the odds. When a woman disappears in daylight without a trace, he told local officers, "You're looking at someone who's done it before." By dawn, Brooke's face was everywhere, on posters, billboards, and flashing across Oregon's local news. The community of Corvallis, normally serene and tight-knit, transformed overnight into a city gripped by fear. 3 residents claimed they'd heard a short, piercing scream around 10 a.m. near the maintenance sheds, but none saw anything. Detectives began to realize how fast the abduction had been: less than a minute, perhaps less than 30 seconds. Investigators canvassed known offenders in the area, going door to door with photos of Brooke. One name surfaced repeatedly: Sung Kim, a reclusive man previously arrested for breaking into dorm rooms and stealing women's clothing. When police raided his apartment, they discovered thousands of photographs, dozens of weapons, and disturbing writings describing violent fantasies. For a moment, it seemed the case was solved. But Kim had an alibi, one that placed him 70 miles away at the time of the disappearance. The relief was hollow, the terror remained. As days turned into weeks, search teams scoured every mile of forest and riverbank. Nearly 7,000 square miles were covered, thousands of hours logged, yet Brooke Whitman was nowhere to be found. Detective Hale carried her photo in his wallet, a daily reminder of his vow: find her. No matter what it takes. He couldn't know that the key to unraveling the mystery, the proof of what happened to Brooke, already existed, waiting quietly in the fibers of an old green delivery van, the man in the green van. 5 days after Brooke's disappearance, detectives gathered in a small room at the Corvallis Police Department. Coffee cups, maps, and stacks of tip sheets covered every inch of the table. The phones rang constantly, hundreds of leads from across Oregon. Most went nowhere. But one detail surfaced again and again: a green van seen near campus that morning. 3 young women reported encounters with the same vehicle. One said the driver stopped her on a quiet street, claiming to be lost and asking for directions. He had no back seats, no company markings, just a map spread across the dashboard and a strange calm in his voice. Another recalled the same man circling near the athletic field, pretending to look for an address. "The way he looked at me," she said, "I just knew I needed to walk away." The FBI began tracking every registered green van in the region. Within days, the number exceeded 400. Investigators logged each one, cross-checking against employment records, rental agencies, and parole lists. It was a needle-in-a-haystack investigation. Then a new name appeared: Joel Courtney, 38, a janitorial worker from Portland with a history of violent behavior. He'd missed a court hearing for a DUI on the exact day Brooke vanished, and his company owned a green delivery van. The route he was supposed to drive that morning passed directly by the apartment complex. Detective Sean Hale's instincts sharpened. "Too many coincidences," he said quietly. He called Courtney's employer. The van had recently been cleaned and reassigned. Hale made a bold move. He bought the vehicle from the company for $3,200, just to get it into FBI custody. At the crime lab, agents worked tirelessly. They stripped the seats, cut out sections of carpet, and vacuumed every inch. Most believed they'd find nothing. After all, cleaning chemicals and months of use could have erased everything. But still, they sent the evidence to Quantico. Meanwhile, in Albuquerque, New Mexico, nearly 1,400 miles away, another horror unfolded. A Russian exchange student was abducted at knife point, assaulted, and miraculously escaped her attacker's car. Witnesses described a red vehicle with a stuffed animal in the rear window. Police caught the suspect hours later. His name, Joel Patrick Courtney. When Oregon investigators learned of the arrest, a chilling silence filled the task force room. Courtney had lived near Portland, had driven through Corvallis on May 24, and now was accused of a near-identical crime. The FBI quickly linked the two cases. Hale and Agent Burr flew to New Mexico. They met Courtney in the interrogation room, tall, disheveled, quiet. He refused to speak, refused to deny. Only his eyes flickered when they mentioned Brooke's name. "We just want to bring her home," Hale said. "Help us do that." Courtney said nothing. Back in Oregon, the search for proof continued. Then, one night in May 2005, exactly 1 year after Brooke vanished, the call came. From Quantico. The DNA analysts had found two profiles inside the green van's carpet fibers. One belonged to Joel Courtney. The other, a match to Brooke Whitman. The task force erupted in disbelief. After months of dead ends, they finally had the link: the van, the predator, the missing girl. Hale stared at the report for a long moment, then placed his hand on his badge. "We've got him," he whispered. But even as they prepared to arrest Joel Courtney for murder, one haunting question remained: where was Brooke, the confession in the woods? 5 long years had passed. The name Brooke Whitman had faded from most headlines, but not from the hearts of those who searched for her. Detective Sean Hale still carried her photo in his wallet, the same one her mother had given him the day she vanished. Joel Courtney, now serving time in a New Mexico prison for kidnapping another woman, refused to talk. The FBI had charged him with Brooke's murder, but without a body, the case stood on fragile ground. Prosecutors offered him a deal: tell them where Brooke was buried, and they'd take the death penalty off the table. Courtney didn't blink. "I've got nothing to say," he muttered. Months turned into years. Then, in September 2009, everything changed. Courtney's lawyer called prosecutors with an unexpected message: his client was ready to talk. In exchange for life without parole, he would finally reveal what happened to Brooke. Inside a gray interrogation room, Courtney leaned back, eyes distant, as if he were watching a movie only he could see. His voice was low, detached. "She was washing light poles," he began. "I drove by once, then came back." He told investigators how he pretended to be a delivery man who'd lost his way. He waved a clipboard through the van window and asked her to point out an address. When she stepped closer, he pressed a knife to her throat. "Don't scream," he warned. Then he dragged her into the van and sped off down a back road. For the next several hours, Courtney drove aimlessly, duct taping her wrists and ankles. Brooke pleaded for her life, promising forgiveness if he let her go. She tried to save herself, one agent later said. She spoke to him about his addictions, about faith. She was calm, even then. By dusk, he reached a desolate stretch of forest 10 miles west of Corvallis. There, deep among ferns and fir trees, he assaulted her. When she tried to escape, he struck her with a branch. The blow was fatal. Courtney buried her under a fallen log, covering the ground with moss and leaves. "No one would ever find her," he whispered. Following his map, FBI agents and local police hiked into the remote woods. They stopped beside a weathered log at the base of a steep ravine. After a quiet moment of prayer, they began to dig. Within minutes, small fragments of bone appeared, delicate, fragile, unmistakably human. Amid the soil, investigators uncovered a broken and Klein wristwatch, the same one Brooke's mother had described 5 years earlier. When she received the call confirming the discovery, her reply was simple: "That's her." The woods fell silent as agents lifted the remains into a recovery bag. Even seasoned investigators turned away to wipe their eyes. Hale stood at the edge of the clearing, whispering, "We brought you home, Brooke. We finally brought you home." Joel Courtney was sentenced to life without parole. In court, he showed no remorse. The Whitman family, guided by their faith, forgave him, not because he deserved it, but because they refused to let hate define them. Years later, Detective Hale would stand at the same spot in the forest, the morning fog curling through the trees. "There's no such thing as closure," he said softly. "But there's peace in knowing the truth." And so, the case that baffled the FBI, a girl who vanished in broad daylight, a green van that haunted an entire town, and a killer who almost got away, ended where it began, beneath the Oregon sky, in the quiet stillness of the woods that had kept their secret for far too long.